On today's episode of Locked On Longhorns, recapping the orange and white game.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Longhorns, the show. Jonathan Davis, your host. Before we get into the orange and white game recap, I have to start by talking about Longhorn Network. Y'all wrong for that, Longhorn Network. We just wanted to watch the game. It's the first time we've seen this Texas team in months. We just wanted to watch the game. We're not going to be able to see them again for months. We just wanted to watch the game. And y'all cutting out plays of the scrimmage to sell us cars and show us commercials. I know you got to get your coin, but come on, Longhorn Network. Y'all better than that. I know millions of people were watching, but we just wanted to see the game. Y'all trying to sell us cars. Quinn Ewers out there making plays. Hudson Card out there making plays. They got the third team ON versus the third team D, and we can't even watch it because y'all selling us cars and showing us commercials while our favorite team playing. Y'all better than that, Longhorn Network. It was good to see the team out there in live action. Like I said, it's been months and it will be months before we see this team again. Spring game, so not a lot to take away from it, but we're going to talk about what we saw today, starting with the quarterbacks, Hudson Card and Quinn Ewers. So you start with the dynamic plays. I think those are the biggest things that jump off the screen when you talk about the plays that Quinn Ewers made. The biggest play of the orange and white game and all the different drills they did, of course, was the play action pass that he had to Isiah Neyor. I think it was about 65 to 67 yards, somewhere in that range. But just a beautiful dime throw. Looked effortless coming out of his hands. Landed right in the bucket for Isiah Neyor, and he practically walked in the end zone for the touchdown. Also in the red zone drills, which they lost to the defense, 18-10, I believe, on the missed field goal. He had the touchdown pass to Xavier Worthy, where Deshaun Jameson kind of gave up the inside to Xavier Worthy, and he just kind of put the ball right on the money. It looked like he had to sidearm it a little bit, but he just made an incredible throw there that was right on the money to Xavier Worthy for the touchdown. And, he had the interception to Anthony Cook, and there were some plays where he was high to the receivers. He missed some receivers, but he had the interception to Anthony Cook where he just kind of threw the ball over the middle, sometimes having too much confidence in his arm and tried to make a play that wasn't there. But once again, the explosive plays that he made, the touchdown to Xavier Worthy and the touchdown to Isiah Neyor are what really jumped off the screen. And he just looks more poised. There was a lot of times where the offensive line would break down and the pass rush got into the pocket, and he was able to move around in the pocket, kind of navigate that, and just be able to still keep his eyes down the field and make plays. They kind of called a couple times early on sacks where I thought that he would have been able to make a play in real game action. So he just looks poised back there in the pocket. Once again, it looks effortless coming out of his hands, and he has the ability to make those splash plays that we saw. The two biggest plays of the orange and white game were made by Quinn Ewers, although there were some inconsistencies. Like I said, him missing some receivers high sometimes, just being a little off with his timing, and also the interception that he had to Anthony Cook, the one blemish by the quarterbacks on the day. I thought Hudson Card, he looked efficient, and that's something that we've heard throughout spring practices. I thought that he was able to consistently move the ball down the field when he was on the field with the offense. But it also looks like, the pressure in the pocket is still a concern. A lot of the times when the defensive line was getting sacks, you would notice that Hudson Card was the quarterback at that time. And a lot of times it seems as though when there was pressure on him, it really sped him up. There was times where he was kind of jumping into his throws. The broadcast on Longhorn Network kept talking about how he would stand on his tippy toes to make throws. But you would see there was times where he would look really sped up and, kind of have to get the ball out too quick, and it would just really mess up his decision making. But also, you just saw the quickness and the efficient nature that he was throwing the ball with, I should say. And he was definitely taking what the defense would give him, whether it was the check downs to the running back or hitting the tight end over the middle. You saw Jordan Whittington, both quarterbacks really utilizing Jordan Whittington over the middle And so I thought Hudson Card showed some really good decision making, and he was really efficient. But it also kind of looks like, his decisions are kind of premeditated, whereas he's kind of going into the snap knowing where he wants to go with the ball. And if that doesn't work out, then at times you can see him be a little fidgety if his first read isn't there. But if his first read is open or who he has deemed he's going to throw the ball to, then he's able to move this offense down the field. Also, you saw his scrambling ability, his ability to make plays with his legs. I think that's something that shines above Quinn Ewers, and I think that stood out in the orange and white game as well. He's really fast and was able to, when things broke down and at the right times, able to make plays with his legs. So I thought both quarterbacks played really well. I think that Quinn Ewers just has more of a natural feel for the position, and he's still learning and he's still young. Like the broadcast said, he should be a senior in high school right now. And so I would say Hudson Card looked more efficient. I thought Hudson Card probably had the better scrimmage in the orange and white game until Quinn Ewers made that throw at the end. And then so him having 2 touchdown passes to Hudson Card's none, I would say it was even more than anything. But I thought Quinn Ewers looked more natural. Once again, I thought that Hudson Card still looked very fidgety at times when the pressure was on him. And he was really efficient, but it looked like not only was Quinn Ewers more kind of natural and felt more smooth in the pocket, I felt like he was also able to go through his progressions better and kind of see the whole field, where it looked like most of the time Hudson Card, if his first read wasn't open right over the middle, and he had to come off of that and figure out another way to move the ball down the field, whether that was taking off and running or going through his progressions, he seemed a little fidgety in that aspect. But it was really good to see both quarterbacks. I thought that both quarterbacks really did well. Jordan Whittington looked great over the middle. Both quarterbacks utilized him well. It was good to see the chemistry that Quinn Ewers had with Xavier Worthy. I thought that really shined out. Them utilizing the checkdowns, getting the running backs involved in the passing game out of the backfield, whether it was Keelan Robinson or Jaden Blue. Also, Jaleel Billingsley and JT Sanders catching a lot of balls in the flats, and them just being able to work the receivers over the middle. I thought both quarterbacks did a really good job. But once again, I just thought Quinn Ewers looked a little smoother, a little natural, a little more poised in the pocket, and the plays that he made jumped off the screen, where I thought Hudson Card looked really good at times. But once again, it just looks, like it needs to be scripted for him more so than Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers looks like a natural quarterback, and Hudson Card at times looks like, as long as his first read is open, everything will be fine. But we know that, in real game situations, it's not always going to be like that. So I would give the advantage to Quinn Ewers on the day, but it was refreshing to see that both quarterbacks looked really good and both quarterbacks have had great springs thus far. If you're hungry, try Built Bar, especially the puffs. If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. At Built Bar, they are all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first and then figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how, but they pull it off every single time. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. So I thought the offense looked explosive at times when the quarterbacks were on and were able to get the ball in the receiver's hands. I thought that one thing we heard continuously throughout spring practices was how the defense looked in the run game. I thought that they still looked really good in the run game, although Roschon Johnson was the best player on the field throughout the orange and white game. And throughout the entire orange and white game, he scored twice. And then he had that play where he just kind of broke through all of those tackles. It was poor tackling. You hate to see that in the orange and white game, even though it's only the orange and white game. That type of stuff translates. So he kind of just broke through on a run that should have been 5 to 10 yards at the most, got 55 yards and scored. But it just shows that, in the orange and white game where the best player on the team didn't even participate in Bijan Robinson, and the running back behind him had 2 touchdowns. Keelan Robinson, he looked really good in his time. He probably got the bulk of the carries, even though Roschon Johnson did more with the opportunities he had. But Keelan Robinson probably had the most touches out of any running back. Him and Jaden Blue looked really good. Jonathan Brooks definitely made some plays with the opportunities he was given. He looked really explosive in his time in there. And then you talk about the receivers. Of course, Isiah Neyor had the big, touchdown where he kind of skated into the end zone on the beautiful throw by Quinn Ewers in the play action pass. And I thought the offensive line, they struggled at times, which was good to see. even though there were plays where the pass rush wasn't able to get to the quarterback, and the quarterback had a lot of times. I thought there were also times where the pass rush really sped up the offense. But the offensive line, I would say for the most part, looked really good. And so they held up well, and Quinn Ewers and Hudson Card were able to make plays over the middle of the field, and then Quinn Ewers was able to make those plays downfield. So Xavier Worthy looked really good. We know he made some plays. He had that touchdown in the red zone portion from Quinn Ewers where he was just able to get inside to Deshaun Jameson, and then it was a foot race from there once Deshaun Jameson was out of position. Jordan Whittington looked really good. He's been the talk. They said he's been the best receiver in the spring. I think that showed up in the orange and white game, just him continuously being able to catch those balls over the middle and put pressure on defense. And then he has that run after catch ability. He's pretty much most of the time going to make that first defender miss. And then I really liked what they did outside of that. I talked about how the quarterbacks were really utilizing their checkdowns or just taking what the defense gave them, not trying to do too much. When they had the design deeper throws, when they took their shots, they were able to do that. But they were also able on most plays to just be methodical, right, and take the tight ends in the flat, whether it was J.T. Sanders or Jaleel Billingsley on short routes, getting the ball into their hands and then letting them be playmakers with that run after the catch. But then also the running backs in the check down game. And so I thought that the offense was really efficient. Of course, Sark was vanilla, and he didn't show us a lot. But what we saw in the spring practices was a lot of bootlegs, a lot of RPOs, and a lot of play action passes. And I think that we saw that in the scrimmage today. So the offense looked really explosive. And, of course, they're going to add so much to it with the offensive line. You got a Jai Hall coming in. Troy O'Meary is going to get healthy. He's going to be able to participate. This offense looked explosive already. And it's only going to continue to get better. And like I said, both quarterbacks were good, but there were also times where they missed as well. Some miscommunications and different things of that nature. So the offense looked good, but it could have looked a lot better. And that's just a testament to the weapons that they have. And it almost looked effortless at times. And it's going to be tough. As we saw, it was tough for our own defense to stop this Texas offense. They're not even hitting on all cylinders yet. So imagine what it's going to be like, once they get it together for the teams they're going against. But once again, really liked what they were able to do on offense. I really liked what Sark mixed in as far as the deep throws. And then also I liked, the quarterbacks being able to just take what the defense gives them. You would never go broke taking a profit. So understanding, even though you got weapons that you can, make big plays with, like Isiah Neyor, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, whoever, that deep threat is always going to be there. And then you have those mismatches with J.T. Sanders and Jaleel Billingsley. But just taking that check down, taking the tight ends, taking Jordan Whittington over the middle. I really think that Jordan Whittington leads the team in catches this year. I think that Xavier Worthy probably will have the most yards, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Whittington leads the team in catches just because of the type of spring he's had, the shape he's in, but also he's just always going to be open over the middle. And I think that you'll never be able to truly take your resources away from stopping Xavier Worthy and Isiah Neyor on the outside, or Troy O'Meary or Jai Hall, whoever kind of mans those outside receiver positions. And so Jordan Whittington is consistently going to see one-on-one looks on the inside. And I think he's going to consistently, him and Sark, take advantage of those. And whoever's at quarterback, he's going to kind of be that security blanket, those tight ends, and then Jordan Whittington over the middle, and then those tight ends in the flat and in the short to intermediate parts of the field. So really good stuff from the offense. Of course, it's the orange and white game. It's hard to take too much from it. And we know that Sark was vanilla in his play calling, but I thought the offenses under both quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers and Hudson Card, were efficient for the most part. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So as far as the defense, I thought the defense played well. They looked aggressive. They were hitting hard. Definitely were aggressive in their pursuit to the ball. I think the issue with the defense was the big plays, right? They were able to stop most of the plays, and I thought they did a good job of wrapping up ball carriers. You had that tough play from Marcus Washington where he bounced off a tackler. Maybe Keaton Crawford could have came in and wrapped him up instead of trying to knock him out. But outside of the regular plays, it was the big play to Roschon Johnson where they weren't able to wrap up, kind of had some mental lapses and just let him run all the way to the end zone, or you just get beat in coverage, on a play action pass. Maybe you get caught looking in the backfield, and then Isiah Neyor beats you on the post route. Another thing they've been working on a lot, or they ran a lot in spring practices with that post off the play action pass, and there's no defense for a perfect throw, and Isiah Neyor was definitely open enough for Quinn Ewers to make a perfect throw. So outside of the big plays, and then like I said, you had to play to Xavier Worthy where Quinn Ewers throws the touchdown and Deshaun Jameson just kind of gives up the inside and there's no safety help over the top. And so then at that point, once he beats him inside, all it takes is a throw on the money and you're not going to be able to catch up to Xavier Worthy. So outside of those plays, I thought the defense played really well. Once again, they were aggressive. I thought the theme that we saw in spring practices of the defense being able to stop up the run game up front, that showed up. I thought that on most plays, they were really aggressive in getting to the ball carriers and limiting their ability to make big plays outside of the big play to Roschon Johnson. The pass rush, I thought they got to Hudson Card. It looked like about 4 or 5 times, and they got to Quinn Ewers, maybe 2 or 3 times. I thought some of those Hudson Card kind of just froze maybe and could have made a better effort to get the ball out of his hands or make a play. But also some of those times they were just getting past the offensive line and making some good plays. So I thought that, there were times, you could tell that it's definitely still a work in progress, but you could see that players like Ovio Gofu, Justice Finkley, Barron Sorrell have gotten really better. And hopefully O'Shawn Mathis makes Texas his decision and comes over and shores up that pass rush as well. But definitely can see it's a work in progress, but there are definitely times where they sped up this Texas offense and put some pressure on them. I thought the linebackers looked really good in covering the tight ends. We know those tight ends can be a mismatch problem for anybody, but I don't think they really let the tight ends or the running backs have too big of a play in the passing game. And then as far as the receivers and the corners, I thought they did a good job. Anthony Cook at safety, he had the interception of Quinn Ewers. And then it was just a few plays, I think these receivers are going to get open against anybody in the country, and so you can't fault Deshaun Jameson and Ryan Watts or whoever for, letting these receivers get open. But you had the touchdowns to Isiah Neyor and Xavier Worthy. Outside of that, I felt like the defense played really well. So all in all, I felt like the quarterbacks played well. I thought that Quinn Ewers jumped off the screen a little bit more, but Hudson Card definitely had a great orange and white game. And I'm sure both quarterbacks gave Sark confidence that this team is going to be better in that department than they were last year. I thought the running backs looked really good. You would have liked to see Bijan Robinson out there, but we understand the long game with him. Roschon Johnson was the best player on the field. The receivers looked really good. As advertised, Jordan Whittington, Isiah Neyor, and Xavier Worthy all made splash plays. Jaleel Billingsley and JT Sanders looked really reliable. Gunnar Helm came in and had a catch at the tight end position. I thought that the offensive line struggled at times, especially in the run game, but they were able to hold up in pass protection. I think that's what most people are concerned about. The defensive line looked hungry in the run game, and they were able to continue to stuff the run as we've seen throughout the spring. The pass rush flashed at times, still a work in progress, but definitely flashed at times. And I thought the linebackers were great in coverage and against the run. And the corners, although they gave up some splash plays, I thought they were steady throughout the orange and white game. And same with the safeties, Anthony Cook having the interception, Keaton Crawford, and BJ Allen, and I can't remember the other safety, the hard-hitting safety, but they made some plays as well. So good to see this Texas team in action. And, it's a tease until September, but great to see that this team has improved. They're wrapping up a great spring, and hopefully, it springboards us into a season where we can compete for the Big 12 championship game. Once again, I feel like this team looks different. They looked different in the orange and white game. They have a lot to clean up, and we'll talk about that on the podcast as we move closer into the summer and into the season. But all in all, I think that this team showed us what we've already known, is that they have the potential to be great this year. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Longhorns, recapping the orange and white game. Enjoy your weekend, and as always, peace.